So this is the bathroom I'm doing today. Walls are going the same color that they currently are. I'm not touching the brown, and then this ceiling is going to go the same color as the walls. So no color change, just doing an update. But yeah, it's a pretty decent sized bathroom. Got a little poop room back here. It's that one too. Ceiling and walls, same color. But yeah, it's pretty simple, pretty cut and dry. Got my drop cloths. Gonna drop the floor off. I got some plastic. Gonna plastic off the countertops, plastic off the tub, and some more countertops. Plastic off the shower, all that good stuff. Make sure all this stuff is covered. And yeah, start cutting, start sanding, start rolling.
I like to cover all my surfaces with plastic. Plastic is a bit more durable than a drop cloth as far as leaks. It's lightweight, easy to move around, and you can stick it to pretty much any surface with just a little piece of tape. If you see in the background there, I do have a piece of tape just kind of holding it in place. I recommend you cover all surfaces of your work area, because if you have a surface exposed, trust me, a drip will find it. So just take the time to lay out some plastic, cover all your surfaces, and I promise you it's going to save time in the long run. So after we get all of our surfaces prepped, I like to drop the floors with drop cloths. These are pretty thick to minimize bleed through, and I make sure I get all my corners tucked and just the entire floor is covered, no matter what, all the time for the entire duration of the job. I highly recommend doing this, especially if you're rolling ceilings, because paint will get everywhere. It's inevitable. Gravity is gravity. It's going to do its thing. So I promise you, your floors will be covered in paint if you do not cover them, especially if you're doing ceilings. But it only takes a few minutes.
All right, got my counters covered, my floors dropped. I'm ready to start sanding and cutting. Folks, when you're doing ceilings or really any painting and you have surfaces below, always drop them off. Gravity is gravity. It's going to do its thing. I don't care how good of a painter you are or how good of products you are using, materials, equipment, what have you. You're going to get drips, so always mask off the area that you're working in. See, even this little bit exposed here, I guarantee you, paint is going to find that. It always does. So make sure you cover them up. Keep them covered. Always, no matter what. I promise you. If there's an exposed area, your drip will find it.
Now that we've got our surfaces covered, we're ready to sand our patches. Sanding patches, especially light patches like these, is very easy. But when doing so, folks, your hands are your eyes. As you see here, I'm running my hands along the surfaces just to make sure I get all the high edges and everything is flush and even. Now that we got our patches sanded, it's time to open some paint. So this is Sherwin-Williams Duration Eggshell. It's just a color match from a 30-year-old paint job, so we're just going to call it tan. When painting a surface where two colors meet, cut the surface first like this and then roll into it to minimize the risk of overlapping onto the other color. Do this and you'll get a perfect finish every time. Now, a lot of people use tape to cover their surfaces when cutting, and that's okay. But if you want to learn to cut without using tape, it just takes time and repetition and a little bit of technique. But if you learn to manipulate your bristles and let the brush do the work for you, you can cut surfaces and objects like this without using tape. And honestly, without using tape, your project and progress will go much faster. So folks, if you decide to paint any rooms in your house, I recommend doing all of your cuts first and then doing your rolling the same day. Don't wait till the next day, cut and then roll. You should always have a cut bucket, something to cut out of like you see me doing here. So when you buy your paint, you're essentially going to get a cut can. So just empty your paint into the bucket or your paint pail that you're going to be rolling out of, and then you can cut with your brush right out of the can, as you see here. So, and then you can wash it and save it so you can have multiple cut cans if needed, or you'll just always have at least one cut can, because they can get kind of pricey at the bigger box stores, Sherwin-Williams, Lowe's, what have you. They can get a little bit pricey for just a little bucket to cut out of. With a little bit of practice, you'll be able to cut nice and smooth like this, but always remember to lay off your excess paint. Go over it a few times and spread out that extra paint. If you're laying plastic down though on surfaces that you have to get on top of to paint something higher up and you can't get a ladder in there, always be very, very careful because the plastic can get very slippery. So now that we're done sanding and cutting, we can start rolling. I like to roll out of a 5-gallon bucket a lot of the time with a paint grid. It's just easier to move around. It's very easy to work out of. You can even put a mini roller set up in there with you so you can have both when needed. So it's very, very convenient. So we'll just load up our rollers and start rolling out this ceiling. Now folks, this is why I recommend masking and covering everything, especially if you're doing ceilings. I mean, look how much paint, can you imagine how much paint flicks and drips are going to be just all over everything? When you roll ceilings, you typically get covered in paint. And sometimes you won't notice it on your tile floors or your kitchen counters or your bathroom counters until you go to clean them or you happen to run your hand across and you feel just a million little bumps of paint. It can be very time consuming to clean it all up, so I recommend just taking the extra few minutes to mask everything. And when rolling ceilings, folks, they can get kind of tricky. So rolling in general, you do not want to apply a lot of pressure. You literally just want the roller to do the work. You are there to guide it. That is it. You just guide it where to go, and then you decide when to put more paint on it. I recommend always back rolling. So if you see me here, I've been going over what I previously rolled a few times just to make sure I get all the excess paint and I spread the paint evenly. Also, you always want to keep a wet edge. So where you stop to dunk, you want to start there again. Not directly on it, but if you see me here, when I go back to start rolling the ceiling, I don't start directly on it like right here. I start next to it and I roll back over my previous spot where I stopped about 25% or so. And that's just to make sure I get a very smooth and even application on the paint. I also try to map out my ceiling, the layout, how I'm going to paint it before I start to paint. And I try to stick to that plan and just kind of flow one direction and work my way through the room, if that makes sense. Also, you always want to make sure that your canned lights or any kind of light fixtures that you have in your ceilings are cut prior to painting the ceiling. As you can see in the top there, I do have it cut around and I'm rolling right into the cut. And that's to ensure that I pull out the brush marks from when I cut it and I get as even and smooth application as I possibly can. So it's really just letting the roller do the work, like I said, but you want to make sure that everything is very even because when the sun comes up and the sun is shining on a nice sunny day through that window, you're going to see every mistake you made. Same thing with walls. Here I'm rolling a wall. I'm standing in the tub. That's why I wanted to put plastic in the tub, not only because I'm rolling the ceilings, but when I get into the tub to paint the wall, it's very, very possible that I have paint on the bottom of my boots. So I want to be sure that I do not track that anywhere where there is not a covered surface. So to ensure that, I put plastic over the tub and I'm standing on top of the plastic currently. But back to rolling walls, same thing applies. You don't really need to apply a lot of pressure whatsoever. You just really want to guide the roller and let it do all the work. And I always recommend rolling with a pole. That's going to give you leverage, which is going to be A, easier on your back, and 2, give you a much more even application.
And there you have it, folks. Bathroom is done. Ceiling's looking good. Everything turned out really nice. Got it all put back together. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. I would have liked to have done something with the brown, but it's all right. Well, yeah, not too bad at all.